Well, Christmas 2017, just kind of between Christmas and the New Year, I was feeling generally rotten. I got gastroenteritis, my stomach was sick, I was vomiting, and I had this rash came out of my arm, like big purple lumps, and I thought, I must be allergic to something. But given the time of year that it was between Christmas and the New Year, I knew my doctor was on holidays and every place was closed. So this rash, developed, and I just felt generally rotten. I was lethargic, and, I didn't feel great, and a bit headachy, and, so I knew I had something wrong with me, but I didn't know what. There wasn't any one thing I could put my finger on. So just after the New Year, then the doctor, opened up back on the Tuesday after the bank holiday. So I said I'd go and visit, and unfortunately my own doctor was on leave, and it was a locum. And he thought it might have been meningitis. He did the last test, but it wasn't that. And then he prescribed an antibiotic, and he said, look, if it doesn't clear up in a week, come back to me. So I went over to the chemist, and she said, I don't know if I like the look of that rash. But that night, I was really sick. I had, vomiting. The room was spinning. It was like the worst hangover ever. So my partner, anyway, wanted to call an ambulance, and I said, no, I don't want to call an ambulance, So anyway, I waited the next morning, but I was really sick. I couldn't get down the stairs. I literally slid down on my bottom. I couldn't get my legs under me, and somehow managed to get in the car. I went straight in a wheelchair, and the triage nurse just took one look at me and said, this girl is very sick. But in fairness now, the emergency doctor there was excellent. She, sent me for a battery of tests. She called down her colleague from the ICU, and he had a bed ready for me, and they were conferring, and they knew it was something serious. Nothing showed up in the test at that point that I'm aware of. But anyway, they said they were going to send me in an ambulance to Vincent's. So she came with me, and I was brought into the resus unit. So in the resus unit, I think at that stage they realised my platelets were down at 4, which is critical. It's very serious. So they gave me a pint of platelets then. And I remember signing for them myself, even I was still a bit lucid at that stage. And he asked me where I worked and everything, and I told him, But then that must have stabilised me for a while, because they kind of left me in a little side room in the ICU, or the emergency room, for a little while. And then I was there for a while, and they put me into the acute management unit. They may have felt I was not sick enough yet for ICU. So I was in the acute management unit. So I was in there, and one of them was visiting. And next thing anyway, I saw snakes, and started hallucinating, and my mind started going a bit doolally. And it's kind of the last thing I remember really at that stage. Next thing I knew, I was in, I don't know, but I was told I was in ICU in an induced coma. So I was there for about a week. The haematologist who's been supporting me all the way through this was on her holidays, but they called her in off her holidays because it was so serious. And she kind of knew what it was, even though it hadn't been diagnosed. So she sent tests away to London, and apparently they took a couple of days to come back. But she didn't wait for the test. She said, I'm going to start treating it now because I think I know what it is. But yeah, so I was there for a while, and it was touch and go. My family were called a couple of times to, say goodbye. They came in, and this bit I do remember. I must have been on the surface. I heard my sister tell me, don't you leave us. We're all here waiting for you. You've too much life to live. We're here waiting for you to come out of it. And I heard that. And I thought to myself, maybe, in subconsciously, I suppose, I'm not going to die, yet. I'm going to fight back. So, I mean, there are some of the side effects that people can end up with is brain damage, heart damage, kidney damage. And I was lucky enough, not to have any of those devastating side effects. So I was in hospital for a month, but I was like a new baby. I could hardly lift a cup. I was like that, trying to get the cup of tea. I couldn't walk. I had to have physiotherapy. So, I had to learn to walk again, get my strength in my legs. And, so it was a whole devastating impact on me, And so, I was in hospital overall for a month. And then I was as weak as a kitten. Like for the first couple of weeks, I just sat in the chair, like really worn out. And I made it my business to get out every day for a 10-minute walk. When I say a 10-minute walk, it would normally take 10 minutes, but it was taking me half an hour because I was so slow and I had to keep stopping. I was so worn out. I don't know how, fatigued, and you're just recovering really. So that was the main thing. So it was a slow recovery, you know. So I was out of work for 2 years. The first 6 months was the worst. I was, you know, really weak. I had to, you know, try and get over that, I suppose. And the constant worry was there that I was going to relapse, you know. I was checking my wrists and arms and everything for rashes, and every little bruise, you know, I was kind of worried about it, every little headache. So I was kind of, you know, really scared of relapse. That was, you know, what was in the back of my mind all the time. I suppose just in hindsight, you know, the negative side of it really is that the worry is always there that I'll relapse because it was unknown, the causes. It's there at the back of my mind all the time, particularly when I'm not well. And the really positive side of it is that, you know, I've made up my mind. I nearly died. You know, I am a survivor and I'm going to continue to survive and live my life to the full. That's the positive side. I haven't met anyone else in Ireland who's had it, but I'm since aware that Thrombosis Ireland has an information leaflet on thrombosis.ie.